Media.
Welcome back to Behind the Bastards, a podcast brought to you by no major streaming networks. That's not a thing that we're doing. Ignore whatever it is Sophie says after me.
That was so fucked up. That was so fucked up. That was so fucked up. I can't even tell you, guys, how many meetings that I've been in. I can't even tell you. I was like up at 5 a.m. clipping together something for. I work so hard, and Robert's like, mind you,
you work so hard.
We're trash.
Yeah.
Anyways,
you work hard for our network that has nothing to do with a major streaming service.
Anyways,
you tried so hard and come so far.
Wow.
But in
wow,
the end,
prop.
I'm really glad Prop's here for this. Anyways, just wanted to give a little PSA at the top. That if you're an audio listener, not a single thing has changed for you, my friends. You can still listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, blah, 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 blah. And there's a PSA at the end if you're forgetting what I'm saying up top. Also, full video episodes of Behind the Bastards are now streaming on Netflix, dropping every Tuesday and Thursday. So hit remind me on Netflix so you don't miss an episode.
Yeah. And look, I know what you're all saying. Netflix only had one demand, which was that we stop making actionable threats against.
Yeah, so...
And, I feel like that's a fair compromise.
Yeah, so hit remind me on Netflix so you don't miss an episode. And then for clips in older episode catalog, continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Respect.
That's what's up. Yep.
Look, Mom, I'm on Netflix.
There you go.
I'm saying.
Well, let's stop talking about streaming and start talking about something important, which is our guest for this episode, Jason Petty, a.k.a. Prop.
The best guy.
Family.
He's here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited.
We're back. We're back.
Back, baby.
Back in the New York mood. Not really.
We got photos back from the live show we did last year, and I was just looking at it, and it's the three of us. I was like, damn, I gotta frame this shit. We look.
You know what
I'm
I'm saying?
It's like a family photo album. I need it. I love you guys.
Listen, it is a blessing and an honor to be here to talk about some sort of piece of shit. And
yeah, we are.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm talking about? I was just over here jamming some Barrington Levy, just calling ICE murderers. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I have shocking news to start this episode.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
The bastard of this episode is not a man.
No. We got a lady bastard this time, Prop. We've got things are dark in the old United States these days, so I figured we'd take a trip up north to our normal and mentally healthy neighbors where nothing crazy ever happens, obviously, in Canada. And let's talk about one of Canada's most notable bastards of the moment, Queen Romana Didulo, the Queen of Canada, which does not have a queen,
I was
notably.
Say,
I mean, kind of did for a while.
AKA who?
Yeah. So she is
talking about.
She's essentially a QAnon influencer who starting in 2021 declared herself the Queen of Canada, and she's been declaring things ever since, living in an RV caravan with all of her followers. It's good stuff.
She's
my God. On behalf of everyone whose just nervous system is beat to crap, man, thank you. Thank you for giving me something this absurd.
She's a mystical creature.
No genocide, no real body count.
She's a cult
man, I needed
leader.
this so much.
She's, in Robert's script, it says she might be an alien.
She might be an alien.
I'm excited.
I love it.
She might be an alien. She might be psychic, but she's definitely a cult leader, right? Thankfully, she's not a good one, which we don't talk about enough. You know?
Oh God, dog. Listen, man. I was here for the Thomas Jeffersons. I was here for the lost cause, for the crack attack. I was
yeah. Let's get something fun. Let's do something good. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna have a good
I had to do
one.
Himmler.
Yeah, and I feel like this is also, because Himmler, if you're out there trying to make your mark as a monster and you're comparing yourself to someone like Himmler, you're just going to wind up feeling inadequate. And I don't want any of the cult leaders that listen to this podcast to feel inadequate. There's been a series of threads going around on Reddit where people are pointing out that, how few people actually make over $100,000. To be like, hey, if you're making less than that, you don't have to feel bad. And I want to do the same thing to the cult leaders out there. If you're a working class cult leader, really busting your ass to keep a dozen or so people locked mentally in the chains of slavery to your insane will. This is for you. You can't all be L. Ron Hubbard.
Listen,
can't all have a skyscraper in downtown Los Angeles.
Again, I appreciate you saying this. This is like the DEI affinity group of
that's right
bastards and cultures.
Right. Obsessed with you.
I appreciate this, man. You know what I'm saying?
You.
It's just like, listen, man, all of us don't start off, you feel me? Like, we all don't start off with the privilege of being a 6-foot white dude, you know what I'm saying, with the money endowment where you can just buy land. You feel me? Everybody ain't Jim Jones. You know what I mean? Like, some of us got to get it out the mud.
Yeah, you have to get people okay with the fact that if all you can do is really completely destroy the mental freedom and sovereignty of 10 people, that's enough.
That's
You're valid as a cult leader. And also, that's what we're telling Romana,
I get it. And also, you know what I'm saying, if we talking about Canada, I mean, they got stuff like healthcare and you know what I'm saying? So they're kind of
Justin Bieber.
They kind of really don't got nothing to complain about, so to get somebody to fall into a cult in Canada, I mean, good for you.
I do feel like they have something to complain about.
They've got stuff to complain about. Largely the cult leader that has destroyed their lives. Yeah.
I was gonna say Drake, but
I was gonna say Timbits, but
he's already been
destroyed. The Canadians.
I was gonna say, but Kenny took care of that.
Yeah, Cornrow Kenny already took care of that. I'd also like to say that, not that I would ever give a high five to any sort of Western world leader, but
valid.
Matt Carney just got his bars off. I'm gonna give Mark Carney.
Good little Davos speech.
Yeah, he got his bars off. I'm appreciate that. He was like, "Can we just stop capping, y'all? Can we just stop pretending like?"
And again, that's part of why I support the Queen of Canada, right? Is that for too long, Canada has sat in the shadows as American cult leaders have gotten all of the attention, just because we're better at cults than Canadians, a lot better, way better. But that doesn't mean there aren't Canadian cult leaders. And today we're going to talk about one, right?
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anave brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anave is the only machine washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquid simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit washablesofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Now, as I noted, Americans are better at cults. And so before we get to Her Royal Highness, I want to talk about a different cultic movement that people generally say helped prepare the ground for Romana's cult. And this is an American cultic movement, the I Am activity. And it's always spelled I Am in all caps and quotations, and then activity with a capital A. That's the name of the movement. And it's like a Christian faith movement from the United States, kind of, that turned into like a self-help cult. And it cropped up.
You got to say the whole thing, like a pimp named Slickback. It's
I
like
am,
a tribe called
the
Quest.
I am exactly the I am activity. Yes,
you have to say the whole thing.
You can't abbreviate it. People won't know what you're talking about. So it cropped up during the peak of the Great Depression at the start of the 30s, which is, a good time to be starting a cult. A lot of our New Age movements have to some extent, their origins in the Great Depression. And the I Am movement has its roots in the city of Mount Shasta, which is the least surprising thing on earth if you've ever been to Mount Shasta.
Any Californians in the chat, y'all?
They're already in cults.
You already know, you feel the cult vibration as soon as you leave the Bay Area. You're like, that smells like cult. If you
live in Mount Shasta, you've already been told to cut ties with your friends and family, and hand all of your money to a charismatic
Don't get
stranger.
gas over there, boy. Oh, you better,
do not
better gas up in Wairika, brother.
Wow. That's a lovely town. But Mount Shasta is a big volcano situated in Northern California, not that far from the border of Oregon. It's very pretty. It looks kind of like a lady. And the town there has a reputation for being a hub of the New Age movement and various cultic groups. Like today, if you go there today, there's a lot of woo shit in Mount Shasta. And this has been the case for a long time. Mount Shasta kind of helped give birth to the New Age movement.
Wait, the mountain looks like a lady?
Yeah, that was a new one.
Kind of, yeah. The mountain, like it kind of has like the silhouette of a lady. So the native said. And it does, if you look at it during the sunset, it looks like it. You can see her face.
Oh.
Cute.
I kind of know. I always think
she's a pretty mountain.
I tied Shasta with just like white women with dreadlocks.
Well, yeah, there's them there too, but they didn't start being there. So it has a reputation for being a hub of the New Age movement. There's also persistent rumors that aliens live inside the mountain, right?
Didn't know that one.
Yes. And I can confirm that there are mushroom aliens living inside Mount Shasta via 4 independent interviews that I conducted with guys I got stoned with at grow houses in the area. So, that's as solid evidence as you're going to get that there are, in fact, aliens living inside Mount Shasta.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, that's a triple source confirmation.
Exactly. Any newspaper would print that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the root of the proud tradition of kookiness in Mount Shasta starts with a local man named Guy Ballard, who, while hiking on Mount Shasta, received a vision from Saint Germain. Now, when I heard that, I was like, oh, this guy's probably Catholic. Some saint visited him, right? Yeah. That makes sense. You know, Catholics are always talking about the saints visiting them. That's not what Saint Germain is. If you look up Saint Germain online, you'll come across 2 different things. One is a kind of elderflower liqueur, that you've probably seen in bars. It's got a pretty distinctive looking bottle.
Okay.
And I think it's named after a long dead confidence man, who was not at all a saint, who described himself as a count, and who made a bunch of famous friends, including Voltaire, and told them stories about being 500 years old and all-knowing, right?
Oh, I love this guy.
Yeah, this was a guy a few hundred years ago who just he got famous for going to parties and lying about himself. right? Which was easy to do back then.
Yeah.
You know? Who was going to check?
Who was going to check if you wasn't 500? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, as long as you're in a different city than you're from, no one's figuring this shit out.
There's a little bit of like, I kind of like gaze back longingly over those days, because I just feel like if you think about like the whole plot of like the Bourne Identity, it just with facial recognition, you just don't have a movie. Like this guy got all kind of like passports to say where he's from. It's like, excuse me, sir, can you step over here, please? Like, you can't have a fake ID. You know what I'm saying? So the idea of saying, because the internet exists, that I could be like, oh yeah, no, we're actually royalty. I'm from Ethiopia. We're royalty. Like, there's no way for you to check. Like, now it's like, sir, you were born in Inglewood.
Yeah. Yeah. And Guy Ballard is, one of these, he sees this Saint Germain fella, and I don't know exactly how to categorize Saint Germain. I think we have to file him under the category of like con artists whose cons have been lost to obscurity, because he's hanging out only around rich people and he's lying to them incessantly. But I don't know like entirely what the grift was, right? Like what was he getting out of this? Was it just that he got invited to parties and he got to stay at rich people's fancy mansions? It may have been that, right?
Yeah.
And he was a charming guy by all accounts, and multi-talented. He was good at music and stuff. So he was fun. You didn't have TV back then. So a lot of prominent people, if you're just interesting, you could get invited to rich people parties and make an okay life for yourself, because there was nothing going on. And all of the other rich people are pretty boring. He published a bunch of sheet music in his time, and he wrote 2 books of magic. One was shaped like a triangle and detailed a ritual that would provide the practitioner with unnatural wealth and long life, just as the Count was said to possess.
Okay.
And his books became influential among the occult, and as a result, when the Theosophists came around in the late 1800s, Helena Blavatsky declared Saint Germain to have been the most powerful wizard of his kind in several centuries, and that his astral form had visited her and bestowed secret wisdom on her, right?
This is
So
amazing.
this guy was just kind of... When we get in the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, that big occult wave that kind of does in a lot of ways lead into like the Nazis and stuff.
Yeah.
Saint Germain is just from a previous era, a couple hundred years earlier. He's one of the most famous guys who was like into magic, and everyone just wrote about him. So she says, "Oh, he visited me and he taught me his secret powers." You know.
And
so
then he
when
visited
Guy
this
Ballard.
fool.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. Like 40 years after he visits Blavatsky. And so I bring all this up because Guy Ballard didn't just invent, Saint Germain, that's an interesting figure from the past who said, taught me something. He's ripping off Blavatsky, right?
Got it.
Like, she was the first one doing this. And so Guy is like, well, I'm looking to make a name for myself. I want people to see me as a cultic leader. I guess I got to have Saint Germain back me up too. Right.
Okay.
And so Guy Ballard takes this, and he says basically Saint Germain told me his secrets to long life and, mental powers, and I'm going to teach them to you. That's the basis of the I Am activity, right? Which is this mystic educational movement based on Saint Germain's supposed teachings.
I Am
right
activity.
Up on the website. The I Am activity, always all caps and in quotation marks with I Am. Don't you ever say it differently.
Listen, like a Tribe Called Quest. You got to say the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, right up on the website, newreligiousmovements.org, the core teachings of the I Am activity center around the presence of the I Am or God presence within each individual, a divine spark that connects everyone to the Creator. Through specific practices such as decrees, spoken invocations, and affirmations, followers aim to realize their divine nature, achieve self-purification, and ultimately ascend to higher spiritual realms, emulating the ascended masters. The Ballard's teachings also incorporated elements of American patriotism and nationalism, claiming the United States had a unique role in the world's spiritual destiny.
Bro, this is there's so many seasonings of like Pentecostal Christian. Yes. In that like you're declaring the I am that I am, and you get to speak the power of existence. Bro, like let me tell you something.
Right.
I already see how this became Christian. You know what I'm saying?
And it's worth noting, as you pointed out, the I am and I am activity is a reference to the Bible. It's something God said.
Moses.
I am that.
What God said to Moses.
Yeah, what God said to Moses, right?
Yeah.
And that's what, it's possible. We don't know. Romana's going to say a lot of stuff that references aspects of the IM activity. I don't know if she's aware of the original cult or if it's just because the IM activity kind of becomes part of foundational American cultic lore. And as is always the case with this stuff, pieces of it wind up picked up by generations of later cult leaders and thrown, and not just cults, but thrown into different aspects of like New Age thinking.
For sure.
So pieces of Ballard's work kind of wind up in self-help books and stuff for decades to come, which may just be the extent of like how she picks up on little elements of this, right? Now, the IM activities, you may have guessed from the fact that most of you probably hadn't heard of this before.
No.
It was not a huge hit. It's best. It was like middling. I'll say that. Okay. Its great claim to fame was a Supreme Court case, U.S. v. Ballard, over whether or not it was fraud for leaders of a supposedly religious movement to collect donations based on religious claims they did not themselves believe. And the case was launched after Ballard's death. People sued and argued that like his wife and son, who'd helped with the cult, didn't really believe in anything and thus were committing fraud when they took in more than $3 million worth of donations. The Supreme Court ultimately decided the question itself is inappropriate for a court to ask, right? We can't even rule on this because the idea that a court would have anything to say about whether or not someone legitimately believes in a religion they espouse is inappropriate, basically. Like we shouldn't even be here, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, I'm so mixed about it because both, if they had ruled, that's fraud, maybe a lot would be better. But also, it really isn't a court's place to say, I think that guy doesn't believe what he says he believes.
Yeah, that's
not really
weird.
Like, when it comes to religion, a crime, like...
That's interesting, and like, how could a court call that? Like, to be like...
It's tough.
That was super interesting. It's like, I don't know about your faith, buddy. You know what I'm saying? You said you believe, but I don't think you believe it. Like...
Because... It's one of those things. I can imagine a million problems we could have avoided if they'd ruled differently, but also a million new problems that we would have had
totally.
if we were like, no, the court gets to decide if you really believe in whatever you say you believe in.
Yeah, totally. It's like,
that's probably a problem.
Which one of these cans of worms do we want to open?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because even like, even fast forward to, again, American Pentecostalism, like how many of it would have been like, hey, bro, you really don't believe you could heal that person, do you? Like, you out here making money.
That what you pulled out of them, that's chicken gizzard. You don't think that's really
that is not
cancer.
real, sir. Yes. And he's like, you got me. Can you imagine?
I feel like there is a line where it's like, if you're like pulling chicken gizzard out of people pretending it's cancer, you're probably committing fraud. That's probably crossing a line. Yeah. But if you're just asking, do you really believe that people can chant themselves into immortality doing this or whatever? Like, I guess I can kind of respect the Supreme Court being like, this isn't even our place. Like, this isn't even an appropriate thing for there to be a court case about.
Yeah, like,
it's really mixed, but I can see the logic, So the movement limped along, the I Am movement. They won this case, and they limp along until Ballard's wife dies in the early 1970s, at which point leadership passed to a board of directors. The group is still kind of existent today, the I Am, but they've got like a newsletter they publish or some shit, but it's not like a thing anymore, not really.
Yeah.
As I said, it's relevant to us because pieces of it have been passed down in New Age and cultic and occult lore ever since in the United States and to a lesser extent in Canada. And the I Am movement is relevant primarily to us today because Romana Didulo would later ape a lot of its core language, knowingly or unknowingly. And so let's turn to her now.
Okay.
The purported Queen of Canada was born in the Philippines, and given her age, would have had to have been born probably sometime in the 1970s. We get very little detail from her early life that can be confirmed to any degree, and she doesn't seem to have made a ton of claims about her childhood and life before coming to Canada. Most of the stories we do have concern her grandmother, who is a sort of figure within the cult that she's created. And Romana says that her grandmother, a first-grade teacher, raised her to speak 5 languages fluidly. Researcher Christine Sarteshi of Chatham University is almost certainly Didulo's #1 biographical expert, and she writes of the Queen's further claims. That same grandmother mounted a strategic defense and offense and successfully blocked the Chinese from invading their regional stronghold during World War II. This claim could not possibly be true, since during World War II, Japan, not China, occupied the Philippines.
because they wasn't there.
She's going to say a lot about fighting the Chinese. This is a family business to her. But again, they got other shit going on in World War II. They're not in the Philippines.
Yeah, I'm a bit like almost equal parts saddened and excited that this is a Pinay, that this is like a Filipino woman.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, she's from the Philippines. Okay, so that adds a layer of like awesome. And again, for newcomers here. Yeah, for newcomers, as y'all can see my face, my stepmother's Filipino. So like I'm part of the culture. So there are things that I could participate in that I can only participate in because one of my moms were Filipino.
Yeah. And she is, Didulo, she doesn't emphasize that part of her heritage very much. She'll talk a little bit about her grandmother, but she's not massively, like, she's more Canadian, I think, than anything else, because she leaves when she's very young, right? And it doesn't seem like she has a ton of contact with her family over there, although that's kind of unclear to me.
Does she go to Toronto?
No, Vancouver.
Okay.
So
if she goes to Vancouver, I was like, because those are two very pretty big like Filipino populations.
And I don't.
Anyway,
she may have been closer to her family there. We get very little about her life before she comes on the scene as a cult leader, but she doesn't talk much about anything to do with her like background, really. Like, because she has a vested interest in not having you think about her before she was the queen, right? Like that's kind of why. Okay. So there's not a lot to say on that account, right?
Yeah.
Her father was a lawyer and an engineer, but he dies when she's 10. Her mom dies a year later. And so she's raised by her grandmother for a couple of years, but not long after her parents die, when she's 15, she moves to Vancouver. And she's raised by other relatives there. It's kind of unclear, how much of this is her grandparents. Do they move with her? I actually just don't have that information. And that's really about all we've got as refers to her early life. We don't have any sort of real documentation about her outside of this. Sarteshi and a journalist from Vice, Max Lamoureux, are kind of the two people who have really delved into her background a lot. So there's a couple of other things I found just from like shit she's written online, but most of what you're going to find about her is from those two. And there's just not a lot that's known yet about what was she doing the first like 40 years of her life, right? You know who doesn't have a public life because they live only to serve you and to bring you joy?
It is known.
Yeah, the products and services that support this podcast. That's right.
Glorious.
Yeah.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC. SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Life gets messy. Spills, stains, pet accidents, and kid chaos. But with Anabay, cleaning up is easy. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you never have to stress about messes again. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, that means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Sofas start at just $699. Visit washablesofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating Melon Serum. This next-generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
Wasn't that delicious?
So good.
Your bill, ladies.
I got it.
No,
I got it.
Seriously, I insist. I insisted first. Oh, don't be silly. You don't be silly.
People with the Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card prefer to pay because they earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors for it. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. No!
The Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card. Visit wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply.
And we're back. So, when Romana next appears on the public record, she's a Canadian citizen and an entrepreneur. She seems to have run a couple of different companies, and I know Mac Lamoureux of Vice is someone, he's reported heavily on her, and he seems to think these businesses that she had were some kind of con, but the specifics of maybe how she was trying to con people are unclear. That's at least how I interpret something that he said on the QAnon Anonymous podcast. Mac, if I got your meaning wrong, I apologize. That seems credible to me, although again, we don't really know what she was doing with these businesses. We have very little on them.
Yeah.
Sarteshi writes
Side note, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Side note, like, QAnon feels like a fever dream right now.
It's
like,
still there. But
like,
yeah,
wait,
I mean,
that
we moved
happened.
past it too.
Yeah, I was like, wait, that happened.
We've
And then
moved past
because of
it in
our
a lot of
nature of
ways.
work. Yeah, because our nature of work, we know it's still kind of there. But
It's
I was
still
just like, bro, them fools went to they stormed the Capitol.
They stormed the Capitol. They won. A lot of them got into positions of power, and they seem almost to, like, I think a lot of the folks who have gotten into power, who started out being Q-pilled, a decent chunk of them have had to even pull back somewhat, because once you're in office, you can't, like, there's not a lot that you can carry further from a lot of the QAnon shit, right?
Yeah, it's a real job. Once you get to it, it's like, this is actually a real job.
I got
you
like
can't-
stuff. I mean, I'm grifting too, but like I can't keep talking about how all of my colleagues that I work with every day have secretly been executed. Like that doesn't make much sense. I share a desk with this guy. Yeah.
I do love the idea of a conspiracy theorist, you know, as pilled as that, and then you get to finally like the deputy director of the, I don't know, interior for agriculture, and you're like, oh, it's just spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Everybody here is just doing spreadsheets, and now I'm one of them. And I don't, what do I do?
It's the sad thing of when you really come to, like, growing up, I was a conspiracy theorist, not like in a literal believer way, but as like a fandom. I enjoyed the conspiracy fandom, right? It's fun.
One of my OGs, this is a diversion, but it's very funny. One of my OGs told me a joke recently, and like he called me, my man Jonathan, he called me, he said, hey, I got a joke for you. He goes, okay, this conspiracy theorist dies and he goes to heaven. And he's sitting down and he's talking to Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, you know what? Ask me anything. And the guy goes, all right, JFK, what happened? And then Jesus goes, dude, it was Lee Harvey Oswald, third story, single shooter, right out the window. He got him. 3 shots, all from him. And the conspiracy theorist goes, man, so this thing goes higher than I even thought. You get it? Because he thinks Jesus is in on the conspiracy also.
Sure.
Anyway,
I
knew. Yeah, I was looking at Sophie.
I mean, I've been saying that for years, because who else would have had the power to drop someone like JFK? You know,
of course.
Anyway. But I mean, obviously Bernie Sanders, but
of course,
you get to this point where you study the world enough to realize that, like, there are conspiracies, but they're all, as you said, they're mostly guys with spreadsheets. Even the conspiracies are like, they're not usually fun. They're like some guys hiding a bunch of financial crimes on a spreadsheet, or like hiding the fact that they're bribing people to put in place a law that increases their bottom line by 5. And maybe that also kills a few 100,000 people, but they're doing it because it makes them like 8% wealthier, right?
Yeah. And it's only usually like 4 of them.
Yeah.
Like, and nobody doesn't really know the whole story except for maybe 2 of them dudes. But the idea that, like, 70 countries have agreed that we're going to lie about the shape of the earth. Like, 70. Like, you know what I'm saying? For 60 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't, again, like, they couldn't keep, like, we're seeing the actual conspiracy now with, like, fucking Alex Preddy's murder, right? Where we all see the video of this man who is completely unarmed and was never violent, just getting executed by an ICE agent. And then the government's like, he nearly killed him. He nearly killed him.
That,
and
my
like,
friend,
that's
is a
conspiracy. But it's not, like, it's not fun. It's just like, oh yeah, it's just brute force of evil just lying. And that's like what conspiracy, it's never 7 different kinds of alien have gotten together to like hide the fact that the world leaders are drinking the blood of children in order to get high.
Yeah. No.
You can quite literally say the exact same thing with Renee Good. She was gonna run this man over. Literally. No,
or
she
fucking
wasn't.
Epstein, right? Where it's like,
fucking
there was a
Epstein.
conspiracy.
Like
a bunch of guys
eyes.
looked the other way at this dude's shady financial dealings because he provided them with 15-year-old girls, right? Like, that's
pretty
the conspiracy. There's no aliens.
Like, it's pretty simple. It's not blood sacrifices. Yeah. It's young women. It's just
exactly
the basic debauchery that we all know.
Yep.
And that's not very fun, which is why people like Romana Didulo have juice, right? It's why all these conspiracy theory figures, why there's an appeal to them, is that like anything's better than realizing how fucked up the world is in such a banal way and how small your power is to actually do anything as an individual. So you might as well believe that like this guy who you met living in a fucking squat is actually secretly in touch with the alien masters of the universe and is the secret king of America or whatever. And if you just follow him in an RV, you know, that's way more fun.
So much more fun.
Getting back to Romana here, right? Christine Sarteshi has charted her earliest online presence, which seems to be an October 2006 article in a business publication that describes her as the president and CEO of Global Solutions Canada. The company description makes it seem like a rinky-dink budget version of Salesforce. You know, it's a company you have that provides you with HR resources for your startup. And their specific specialty was recruiting engineers and geologists for the oil and gas industry. And again, maybe she tried to make a real business and it just failed. Yeah. I am assuming there was an angle here. There was some way in which this was fraudulent because of who she is, right?
Yeah, me and my buddies try to come up with a sentence to describe like what some sort of company like that. Oh, Global Solutions LLC. Well, what do we do? Well,
Global Solutions LLC. That sounds real.
Yeah, well, what we do is we try to integrate and synergize between 2 different operating systems to make sure that we can streamline the processes for the. We center like just putting together a bunch of words.
I'm glad you brought up synergy because during our first meetings with Netflix, they told us how important synergy was to them, and I said, guys, I love sinning. I'm sinning right now. I got so much synergy. I've got endless energy to sin.
You know what I'm saying?
This
I got
never
sin
happened.
in me. I got sin out of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For legal reasons, this never happened.
It happens. So,
maybe in your mind,
this fucking Global Solutions geology Salesforce business, whatever that really was, her subsequent ventures, she has a series of real estate corporations that are described by Sarteshi as shell corporations, and I have to assume that's definitely some sort of con, right?
Yeah, of course.
Sarteshi concludes, Didulo also has 2 additional open businesses in London and Wales. No substantial activity with these corporations is known. Success in the business world seems to have eluded her, right? She's not successful. She's not making money.
So what is this? Yeah, so what does your real estate company do? Oh, well, we make
fake
sure
stuff
that
mostly.
The integration of, our our HR systems and our
send me
projections
$1,500 and you'll
fit
find
into the
out.
things, and I'll help you out, man. We could set you guys up. Yeah. Are you guys getting a gang of emails that are clearly written by AI about how you can synergize your companies?
I get a lot of those.
Oh yeah.
I get a lot
of them from PR people being like, here's an article for your website that we think your readers would love. You can post it. And it's just like talking about how cool the CEO of this company that's going to fail in 5 months is.
Absolutely.
I love PR emails.
Oh, man, they're so great. And then I'll get a follow-up. Hey, just making sure you saw our last email. And I'm like, I saw it. Go into my spam folder.
Yeah.
I saw it.
So, I can't judge you. I have in my secondary email 49,000 unread emails. So,
oh yes,
my other one has more.
Too, like, for the listeners and observers, like the bit about Robert is he's actually a very good businessman, and it's pretty funny to see you click.
Sophie's
into
a good businessman.
Yeah, wait, let me finish. Is when I see like the switch is so quick because Sophie is like cutthroat. This what we here for. This what we finna do. Right? Like this what I need. This the bag. Where my money? Talk to me when my money ready. Right? That's Sophie. And then, but you don't realize because Robert's being goofy, and all of a sudden he clicks in and he says, "Well, actually, I think that." Really, if we set up and you're just like, whoa, like, so I just want to like put that on there. Like, Robert got a switch. He got a professional switch.
Look, did I get my MBA from Harvard?
No.
Yes. No. They wouldn't let me into Harvard.
No, they wouldn't.
I had like a 2.8 GPA. What do you think they let me in?
Did you see my face when you started that sentence?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. But Robert's a fantastic business partner because he listens to me.
Yeah, I'm a fantastic business partner because I let Sophie run things while I write about the Queen of Canada. Much like Bill Gates. So, from other interviews conducted with people who saw her the Queen in her home prior to announcing that she was the Queen, we can say that Didulo did not live well. People have described her as living in squalor and maybe having been something of a hoarder. I don't know if she was like poor, but she's like lower middle class at best in terms of like income level. She seems to be struggling financially, right? We don't have a lot of context here, but this is people who saw her house were like, she was not living well. She had a room, it was crowded and not very clean or nice. Like she's like, this is someone who's doing about as well as you'd expect someone who's orphaned at 11 and then has to immigrate to a new country to be doing, right? Like she's not someone who's living in a rarefied air. She's struggling. And she does not seem to have a particular position of respect or to be very well known by her neighbors, right? In part because very few of them have come forward as she's gotten more famous to even say negative things about her, which to me kind of suggests maybe in this previous areas of her life, she was, if not like a shut-in, then just not someone who was very much a part of the social life in her community, right? Maybe someone who was very isolated. Given her proclivities, we can say probably someone who spent way too much time on the internet, watching YouTube videos and reading articles about conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah, I feel like she was in her own head for most of her life.
That's the vibe I kind of get.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That's the vibe I kind of get. Vice's Mac Lamoureux has noted that in one live stream, she's claimed to have been homeless at one point and to have slept on the floor of a friend's nail salon. I don't see any real reason to doubt this. It seems pretty.
Yeah, I was like, I believe
she
both
lies
of those.
about a lot, but that's. I've known friends who've been in the same situation.
I'll tell you what, you know what I'm saying?
I had to sleep on a few floors, you know?
Yep.
For her, as for millions of other people in similar situations, the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic offered a lifeline. That year, she took the lockdown and the attendant explosion in conspiracy culture and fringe political organizing as an impetus to start her own political party, the Canada First Party of Canada. And I love that name. The Canada First Party of Canada. Because what else? It could be the Canada First Party of America. I'm going to start the Canada First Party of America. I think U.S. politics should be entirely geared towards what's best for Canada. First off, give them our nukes. You know, they're better suited to them. And you know what? You guys can have Maine.
It reminds me we went to the RNC and they had all those signs everywhere that said, "Make America Great Once Again." And you're like,
Didn't we already do it?
You just added once.
Yeah. No, the Canada First Party of Canada. And she's
Canada First.
She's seeing
Party of Canada.
The Canada First Party of Canada. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Glorious.
She's seeing all these people. Number one, she's stuck inside.
Yes.
But everyone's stuck inside, and she's seeing traffic explode, probably just because of the things that she knows and brings up. She is familiar with a bunch of weird little, particularly a lot of alien-focused conspiracy worlds.
Okay.
She talks a lot about like the hidden secret bases that the army is supposed to run, which we talked about in our UFO episodes. This starts out in like New Mexico because people are trying to hide the results of some like nuclear tests. But it's turned into today. There's people believe like the Getty in Los Angeles has like a deep underground military base where they're like taking adrenochrome out of children. She's big into all that. She believes in med beds, which is these extraterrestrial aliens have these beds that'll heal any sickness, and they're trying to give them to us, but some group of evil elites is keeping them away from us, right?
She
believes in all of that stuff. Yes.
Was I on the show for the alien conspiracy ones?
I don't remember who our guest was.
Yeah,
for that.
I remember us doing it, and how like the CIA or the government was like,
because it was mostly like the DIA or the military intelligence even that was fucking around more than the CIA with this.
And they kept feeding secrets to homeboy to be like,
exactly.
They was like,
man, no, you're tapped into the conspiracy, brother.
You might be on it, bro. You might be on to something. That was so great.
Yeah,
there's a few times. Sometimes it's like, you know, like the reality is, if he wasn't such like a flaming piece of vomit, like Trump is hilarious.
So funny.
Oh yeah,
he's
funny man.
If he wasn't so evil, he'd be the funniest
if he
man
wasn't
ever.
so evil. So for the government to be like, you think Area 51 is aliens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure,
man, come here. Let me tell you some
Absolutely.
more. Like, that's funny.
There's even more going on. Yeah.
Bro, you don't even know the half, homie.
So that's the chunk of the conspiracy culture that she seems to be most inundated in. And during 2020, she's watching traffic to all of the different people that she watched, all these videos. It's all going up. And she's seeing, she's watching the news. She's seeing the protests and stuff all over in the U.S., but she's also seeing like the anti-lockdown protests. In general, it's hard not, if you have, and I think most people who have cult leader juice have a kind of sixth sense for timing.
For the lick, yep.
And I think for her, it's like, this is the time to try something. People are uniquely vulnerable, and I could maybe maybe change my shitty life if I can rally a following around me. So she starts the Canada First Party of Canada. Know Your Meme describes the party platform as generally opposed to progressive socialist and liberal ideologies, as well as what it describes as the UN's and globalist plans to turn Canada into a third world country. The website for the party seems to have been created sometime during the early summer, and by August, its Telegram page had about 17,000 members, which probably didn't translate to more than a few hundred Canadians who would call themselves members of the party. But first off, for someone who's living alone in like and hoarding in like a tiny room, suddenly you got 17,000 people on your Telegram page saying they believe it. That's got to be addicting, right? That's like
that's got to feel amazing.
That's like giving someone with a congenital predisposition towards addictive behavior their first hit of heroin, where they're like, "Oh no,
it's over.
Oh no, my whole life just changed."
Yeah, this is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I've been looking for a drug to destroy my life. Thank God.
Oh my Lord. It's also interesting too, like, and it's like this is the part about like con artists and hustlers that I still kind of trip out on, because I'm like, okay, so when I think about like, I can think of 3 dudes that I grew up with that I'm like, I have known for over 20 years, and I realize I know nothing about you. Like, there's a way that they, and there a lot of them are like hustlers, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's a way for them to like really, the knowledge of knowing how much to tell you and how much not to tell you, but it feels like we're friends. You know what I'm saying? And I do believe, like, you know what I'm saying, this person like thinks highly of me. One of the homies I remember was like, I looked up, like, this dude was in Cuba. I was like, what do you, like, he's visiting Cuba. Like, he just went to, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you just went to go visit. Like, I'm like, I have known you for 20 years. You know what I mean? I've been to your house and I realize I don't really know you. You know, so I think that there's this sense of, like you said, just like sense to know, like, time to talk, time to shut up, time to go, time to get out. Like, this the moment. Yeah.
It's always interesting when you run into people who have that like skill for leaving some stuff on the table. I had an older friend when I was in my 20s. Like, I was a lot older, and we did like a biking club and stuff together and would hang out. And I'd known him for like 2 years. And I don't even remember how it came up, but he was just like, yeah, I did 3 tours in Vietnam. I was like, what?
Like, what?
Like, what?
Yeah.
You never mentioned anything. Like, first off, 3's a lot. Most people didn't do that.
Yeah.
So that says something. What?
Yeah. But that's so even us knowing like what we know about her and then how much we don't know about her is like, you know, But I feel like the people that are able to stay in the hustle are the ones that don't get addicted to the attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you love the attention, that's going to be the downfall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think most cult leaders are addicted to the attention, but you're right. There's a degree of separation you have to have from the bullshit in order to be like L. Ron Hubbard. I think always knew exactly what the bullshit was. Right.
Yes.
And that's why he had the staying power and the success he did. It's not that he wasn't deluded about certain things, but I think he was generally pretty aware of what reality was and was just conscious. And he loved the attention. He loved being worshipped. But it never, it did that's near the end of his life. It eventually did kind of overwhelm him. But for a very long time, he was able to keep enough of an understanding of reality.
Enough of a distance.
To stay ahead of the authorities. Right?
Yeah.
It's not even about, I don't want to say like L. Ron Hubbard was perfectly sane and rational. No,
of course
not. But he had enough of an understanding of what reality was that he didn't fall victim to his own bullshit. He lived a long life and died free, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you can hold on to something that's like, this I know this is who I really am. Like, you know what I'm saying? This is who I really am. This is work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So on November 20th, 2020, Romana uploaded the first YouTube video to the Canada First Party of Canada's YouTube account, featuring a song that made it sound like every movie trailer from a decade earlier. The video otherwise had featured minimally competent editing and fairly clear audio, which sets her apart from a lot of people trying to like make fake vanity political parties in this time. Sophie's going to play you a little bit of the Canada First Party for Canada's ad here, so you can. This is her first documented grift, so we gotta see this.
Yes, but before you play this, like I'm gonna laugh every time you say the Canada First Party of Canada.
Party of Canada.
I'm gonna laugh every time. Okay.
Hello, Canada. I'm Romana Didulo. I'm the founder and the leader of Canada First. It's time for us to clean up the swamp in Ottawa, to put an end to corruption, criminality, incompetence, and lies in the government.
See? You know.
She is not
it's pretty
all what I thought she would be.
No, and that's the thing. She's not very charismatic. She's not a great speaker.
Riz.
It's zero riz.
So crazy.
There's effort because that's a competently. It's not like unclear. The audio's. It's not like good, but you're not. I've listened to a lot of these. Usually the audio's worse and stuff like this. Usually the editing's worse. Like it's like she hit a minimum bar of competence.
Yeah,
which is how I generally describe her as a cult leader. She's not a good one. She's a minimally competent cult leader.
She's mid.
And what's interesting is that she's managed to get a lot more attention than you'd expect, given her generally low level of competence, which I find compelling.
It's also bizarre to me that like this isn't like she's using the exact same, like it's like this is a bite. This is currently what we're saying. Like there's already currently this. You copy my whole flow bar for bar. Like it's already currently we're already doing the drain the swamp. Like
exactly. It's just a ripoff of Trumpist populism, right? Mixed with Trump. is objectively charismatic. You may not like him, most of us don't, but he's very to the people. He's able. A lot of people do. A lot of people pick up what he's putting down. He can give us. He used to be better when he was younger, but he can give a speech. Yeah, she's not good at that, right? She has no stage presence. It's one of the least energetic examples of VO I've heard in the right-wing populist politics game. Yeah. And this is kind of the big mystery about her, right? She doesn't have any money. She doesn't have any power, and she's boring as hell. Why is anyone talking about the Queen of Canada, right? Because she's had a lot more of an impact than you'd guess given all this. Yeah. And I think the answer I have to give is sheer persistence. She seems to have committed to launching a career for herself out of the right-wing fever swamps in the early days of the pandemic, and she's stuck to it tenaciously. I can imagine that watching the first 4 years of Trump's presidency, or first 3 years, had given her a lot of ideas as to content and made it clear that there was no bottom floor of credibility as long as you hated vaccines in the UN, right? That's all she needed to say, and it didn't matter how much bullshit she was otherwise, right? That's what works with these people. This first video only gets about 24,000 views in 18 months, and the Canada First Party of Canada sputters out, and there's not really anything memorable anecdote-wise about it. They don't have any fun moments. They don't have any big conventions. It's a failed grift. It's mainly interesting because of what comes next. Okay. She pivots immediately from the failure of this political party to announcing herself as the Queen of Canada. From the outside, that seems like a desperation move, right? That probably shouldn't work. It's like if like the campaign hadn't worked and then he just started telling everyone he was secretly the King of America, Like that wouldn't seem like a well-considered pivot, right? Yeah. But it's going to work, right? And that's kind of what's most interesting to me about her. On May 30th, 2021, Didulo uploaded the first video on her personal channel announcing that she was Commander-in-Chief of Canada. That's before she's queen. She says that she's the commander-in-chief. The language in the video deliberately apes QAnon. She describes herself as opposed by a deep state cabal tied to a global pedophile conspiracy that she was battling alongside white hats. Okay. Which is a term that comes out of like the hacking world, right? You've got like black hat hackers and white hat hackers, right? And the black hats are people who are trying to fuck up systems for their own benefit. Generally, the white hats are like the people who are generally defending against malicious hacking, right? Like that's kind of the basic idea. I don't actually have a great handling on why White Hat got taken up by the QAnon people, but it does. This is way pre-Didulo. This is the early years of Trump that they're starting to use the term white hats to talk about and these are, when they use it, it means the members of the government and the intelligence services and the military who aren't part of the deep state cabal, right? They're the good guys who are fighting this secret war, Now, I can't find her first video, but if you've seen one of her pronouncements, you've seen most of them. So here's an example from less than a year after May 30th when she first makes her video. This is just to give you an idea of what it looks like when she addresses her subjects. This is filmed in an RV.
Wait, what? You said this is filmed in an RV?
It sure is.
What the hell? You just threw that in at the end. Okay.
Those are RV grade curtains, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
My fellow Canadians, I address you today as your Queen and Commander-in-Chief. We are on the eve of World War III. I ask that everyone come as one people and one nation, and to work with the United States and all of our allies around the world. God help us and Godspeed.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
What is she? Who are you?
Yeah, I mean, she's interesting because, again, no charisma, no juice, seemingly. I will say she's putting some effort into dressing up. The white jacket thing is a good call because it does kind of look vaguely regal, Yeah. So I'll give her that.
She got flags.
She puts in some effort. Like, it's not the zero effort version. Like, she makes sure everything's white behind her. It looks vaguely, it looks almost like kind of like an Air Force One type video. Sure, it's just her RV.
Yeah, but it's like production, but the production value is like West Wing 1997.
It's
Right,
very
right.
It's very much a TV show. Yeah, in the 90s about.
Yeah, 90s West
She's
Wing.
trying, but she doesn't have a lot of resources to try with. Right? She's doing as much as she can with what she has.
I think I'm starting to realize how she even made it to your radar and into this podcast, because it's like, this is a very much of a against all odds, because there is no reason we should know anything about this person based on the two things that you just showed me.
No, she should never have hit our. But here's the thing: part of why I'm doing this prop, she's in our top 4 or 5 most requested subjects.
That is
like anytime you go online to where people talk about like, hey, who should we do next? She's always prominent.
I love that.
Which is why I'm doing her. You know?
I think now I'm telling you, man, like the vision is becoming very clear to me. Like where you was like, okay, she's definitely like a C- thing, but the tenacity of like how you manage to poke through and get a #1 record is just, that's crazy.
Yeah,
with no bars.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big mystery of her.
Yeah.
So her first and second video, she puts out trying to claim that she's now in charge of Canada, get roughly like 14,000 views in their first year each. So there's no sign yet that this queen grift is going to take her any further than the Canada First Party of Canada. It's a little less successful, it looks like initially. But trying your hat at becoming a figure in the right-wing fever swamps is a little like playing the slots, right?
Yeah.
Each time you pull that lever, actually, it's generally just a button. The levers don't really do much anymore on most
levers are the
slot
80s.
machines.
Yeah.
Whatever. Every time you say go, right, you have a random chance of winning. And in this case, when it comes to being a right-wing kind of conspiracy cult figure, winning means someone bigger in the movement catches onto your content and decides to either direct their followers your way or to play in with your bit. This is a big thing. This has been an aspect of UFO culture, of like the psychic, the whole New Age movement that believes that we have psychic powers, where people will be like, I'll play along. Yeah, I saw those aliens too. Or that alien she's in psychic contact with, I'm also in psychic contact with, so you can trust her, right? And it's,
I'm confused, because at first I was like, are they just like, are people like, posting and sharing it because they think it's funny? Or like you said, like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I feel like people are doing this ironically. But then
I think that's a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even within the right wing. Because it's like even the brain cooked folks still got some sense to be like, well, this is just funny.
This seems nonsense. And I think most people on the right who are aware of her are like, well, this lady's a kook, right? Even most of the kooky people on the right are aware that this lady's a kook. But in part, being made fun of and being ridiculous enough that you get elevated by people talking about what a bad con artist you are is part of how you get success in this field, because it just raises your general visibility, Like when people are talking about you and laughing about how silly you are, that also, it's a free play of the slots, right? Because maybe somebody who can burnish your reputation, somebody else will come across your shit that way and will decide to play in, right? Or to share your stuff. So it's not necessarily bad for you to be initially just seen as a figure of like mockery, which I think is kind of what happens to her. But as Mac Lamoureux writes for Vice, quote, the outlandish self-promotion went nowhere until a well-known QAnon figure confirmed her in early 2021. At the time, the titular Q, who drops clues for the community on 8kun, had disappeared, and Didulo stepped into the power vacuum. In a matter of months, her popularity exploded. And this is important. We're in early 2021. Joe Biden has taken office. Trump is at least temporarily, seems like he might be out of the game, right? He was not wildly popular for the first couple of months after January 6th, and Q's not doing drops anymore. So there's still just as much, as we're all aware of, just as much interest in this stuff, just as many people who are on board for these nonsense right-wing conspiracy theories, but the most prominent people have kind of dropped out temporarily. And so part of why she gets success is she just starts trying to make a name for herself at a point in which there's nothing on TV. You know, it's kind of like one of those shows that wouldn't have been a hit if there'd been anything better on. But because there's not, people like, okay, So this prominent QAnon figure, who is the first guy who really gives you credibility, seems to have been a fellow who went by the username Whiplash347. He runs a Telegram channel with about 300,000 followers, which makes him a fairly large fixture in the QAnon community. And like many influential Q heads, he claims to have close personal ties to Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and JFK Jr., who is deceased. But they believe is secretly alive.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. He's alive. My bad. I got to keep up. Yeah.
And you know what never dies, Prop?
Oh, man. Goonies?
They had that. That's true. Actually, one of the Goonies must have died, right?
Goonies never say die.
They never say die.
Figure out if one of the Goonies has died, and if they're all alive, hunt one of them down. Until then, we're off to ads.
Jesus Christ.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Kids, pets, life, your sofa sees it all. But with a washable sofa, stains don't stand a chance. All of our sofa collections come with fully machine washable covers and cushions, making cleanup effortless. Liquid and stain-resistant fabrics provide extra protection against everyday messes. Plus, with modular designs, you can rearrange your sofa however you like. Perfect for growing families and changing spaces. Starting at just $699, it's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
Wasn't that delicious?
So good.
Your bill, ladies?
I got it.
No,
I
got it.
Seriously, I insist. I insisted first. Oh, don't be silly. You don't be silly.
People with the Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card prefer to pay because they earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases.
Okay, rock, paper, scissors for it. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. No!
The Wells Fargo Active Cash credit card. Visit wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply.
We're back. Sophie's telling me that we are not allowed to tell people to hunt down the cast of the classic film Goonies.
They're wonderful people.
They're wonderful people. Probably don't hunt them down unless you have a really good shot at it.
You're going to get kicked out of Oregon for that take because that was shot in the Oregon.
It's very much Oregon.
I think it mostly annoys people from Oregon, though, because that house, that whole neighborhood, probably property values are swollen as a result.
Dude, imagine.
Wow.
Yeah, every morning. Well, I kind of live next to a kind of like a cult classic location. I won't say exactly where.
Don't say which it is.
Yeah, I won't say exactly
which
where,
it is.
But,
let's move on from this.
Yeah. You got too many listeners.
Yeah.
I ain't telling you.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
Anyway. So in the space of a year, from early 2021 to early 2022, Didulo goes from someone who couldn't crack 15,000 views on a YouTube video to someone who in May of 2021 had close to 20,000 followers on her personal Telegram channel.
Amazing.
And at least hundreds of people claim to embrace her as their rightful sovereign and leader. She's eventually going to get close to it's going to be 80,000 or something like that on her Telegram channel. So again, the guy who kind of vouches for her has 300,000 followers on Telegram. So she's never up to his level. Yeah. But that's enough when you've got 80,000 people following your Telegram you can pull out a couple of dozen folks who are going to be willing to change their lives to follow you in the real world.
Oh, no, that's
right?
real. Yeah.
Like that's enough. It's not enough to be a big deal, but it's enough to change your shitty life into something more fun.
Oh, yeah.
So during this first year, she's not out in public yet. No one's seen her. She's not traveling immediately, right? She's mostly, for the first kind of few months that she's the Queen of Canada, she's just making videos and she's expanding the lore about herself. She's doing a lot of live streams. She's talking a lot in her Telegram. And, she's thought this through to some extent. She knows that royalty doesn't just conjure itself up out of thin air. It's appointed by other royalty, right? Mm-hmm. You can't just say, I'm the queen. Some other king or something has to say, I'm the queen,
It has
right?
to be some sort of lineage.
That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Generally. Yeah, I mean, initially, there's always some guy who's like, I'm the king.
Yeah.
Here's what a king is, right?
Yeah,
but
totally.
By this point, we've got a fairly robust system of royalty in the world. Someone needs to vouch for you.
I think we kind of know all our royals. I think we kind of know them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, here's how researcher Christine Sarteshi summarizes Didulo's description of her own rise to power, as recounted over a series of live streams and YouTube videos. Didulo had been living with a roommate in Victoria, British Columbia, working a regular 9-to-5 job. The two were living in a basement. At night, and after working her day job, Romana was secretly interacting with a man she would later reveal as His Highness David J. Carlson, married to Her Highness Sarah M.G. Carlson, who was acting in the role of Commander-in-Chief of the United States Air Force Academy's Civilian Command of Military Operations, which... What?
Who?
What? That's not... Commander-in-Chief of the Air Force Academy, Civilian Command of it.
What?
You're saying words.
Yeah.
Again, like the
We're
Commander-in-Chief.
just synergizing, making sure that there's a connection between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll just call David Carlson the Commander-in-Chief of the United States and King. There's a lot that's wrong about this. It's what you'd expect. She understands America as well as you'd expect from a woman from the Philippines who's lived in Canada most of her life, which is not at all. First off, the Commander-in-Chief is a role that the president has, where they're in charge of the military, because we're supposed to have a civilian who's in charge of the military, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make you king. It shouldn't, right? And it's also, there's not a Commander-in-Chief just of the United States, because that's not what the job is. The Commander-in-Chief is like oversight of the military. You're not commanding in chief of the country, right?
So
that's not
funny.
what that means.
It's so funny, dude. It's like
there's a lot that's wrong about this.
That's why I'm like, y'all have to be laughing at her, because that is funny. Yeah.
She does this too with Canada, where she will kind of sometimes, especially earlier on, she would refer to herself as the Commander-in-Chief and the Queen as if they were the same job, and they're not.
No.
They never have been. It's just kind of, I think, a misunderstanding, or she just likes the way the terms sound.
Also, Canadians, from my experience, are actually pretty well versed in like American history and politics. So like, for her to even say that,
not Romana. Not Romana.
Yeah.
For a while, I think the overwhelming suspicion was that David Carlson was not a real dude.
Yeah.
But after she mentioned him, he pops up being a very real guy in Arizona who does in fact claim to be the king of the Kingdom of America.
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Sorry, every time.
Huh?
Yes.
What?
Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Angels of Anaheim. Every time.
Yes.
Okay. I don't
Robert
know.
Does not get
were
the
she
joke,
and David
I fear.
LARPing behind the scenes, right? Like, was he pretending to be the king to her, and she found him on like his weird king website, and they started talking, and he appointed her? I don't know. Or did she start claiming this about him, and then he came, like, it's a little unclear to me what came first, like what the chicken or the egg is in this situation. But she claims David appointed her Queen of Canada in 2017. Now, this can't be true,
of course
right?
not, because
there's no evidence of her. She wasn't a figure back then, right? She wasn't saying shit.
It wasn't the
play.
We
have no
then.
evidence that.
Yeah.
Right. We have no evidence she thought of this until 2021. But the story needs to date back to 2017 to make room for another crucial piece of Romana's hastily contrived and poorly conceived backstory. According to this tale, King David Carlson became aware of Romana and made her the Queen of Canada after she saved Canada from an underground invasion by the Chinese Communist military.
Oh,
single-handedly.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
That is wonderful.
Now, Prop, you have a reaction. I think a lot of Canadians are going to have a similar reaction because, and it's sad, in America, we have the Korean War is our forgotten war, right? Americans just don't know a lot about the Korean War.
Yeah, we just don't know.
And I think Canada, we can all agree, Canada's forgotten war is that time China invaded through a series of underground tunnels and got turned back by a woman in her 50s.
Oh, my Lord.
From underground?
From underground. That is
from underground. I love it. Everything's got to take place underground. She's from that chunk of the UFO community where everything's happening underground.
Yeah, there's a whole world under there.
If you're like China invaded Canada, Canadians are going to be like, I live in Canada and I didn't see anything happen. But if you're like, no, they came up underground. They were in the tunnels. Well, you're like, well, maybe I haven't been to the tunnels.
I might have missed that one. Was it up in the Yukon? Because if it was underground, it's pretty cold up there. I don't think you could burrow through. I don't think
it's a cold place for tunnels.
Why would they do that?
You're killing me.
I'm imagining like an Us sort of situation here, which is what they're imagining, right? That's part of what that movie was inspired by. As the story goes, there were Chinese soldiers that were like being stationed in tunnels that ran from Canada through the U.S. down to Mexico, and the Chinese army was going to invade, and they were going to invade like Canada and the U.S. and I guess Mexico simultaneously. And as they were preparing and getting their army in place, they were using the tunnels, because if you've got these tunnels before they're filled with soldiers, that's a lot of a real estate outlay to buy these tunnels. So you're going to use them for something, and the Chinese army used them to harvest adrenochrome from children.
So a multinational tunnel, like you saying. Through 3 countries?
Three countries, a tunnel system, presumably underneath like all of the major habitation areas of those cities, right? I would assume.
This is incredible.
Of those countries.
This is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Now, again, she's cribbing from some old and well-established conspiracy theories, which all have underground bases and cities and stuff about the, children being abducted to provide organs and narcotics for the elite. None of this is new. She's just wrapping old stuff in her conspiracy theory. Christine Sarteshi continues. Didulo claims that the Chinese Communist military is a front for the New World Order, Satanists and individuals who want to engage in eugenics. Didulo asserts that she single-handedly removed the Chinese Communist military from Canada, and additionally the remainder of the world. It's got to be news to China. Didulo maintains that if the Chinese Communist military attacked the United States as was planned, that it would have sparked a world war. She contends that her subterranean military achievements thus prevented World War III. For that, she was awarded her title as queen. The entire world, she explains, should be thankful for her monumental efforts. And you know what, Prop? Let's end this episode right now by just saying thank you, Romana, for stopping the Chinese communists from destroying Canada and I guess also America.
I'm curious as to why your commander-in-chief in Arizona, like why he ain't do nothing about it before he even got to Canada. Like, why was he not, and why would you, like, I feel like...
Why is the King of America not stopping
King of America.
Right.
I feel like I would have an issue with him.
Maybe he's down in Arizona. They haven't made it there yet.
Way down south. You could have gave me a heads up that they was coming. You know what I'm saying? I feel like...
that they were going to invade?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I love about this is that it is very clearly the kind of grift that, like, someone who doesn't know much about Canada or the United States really would make. There's this almost like childlike vantage point where, like, obviously, if there's a queen in Canada, she must have been appointed by the King of America, right?
Obviously.
Because that just makes sense.
Of course.
Which is, I think kind of offensive to most Canadians, even most crazy Canadians. But it makes a lot of sense when you think about, like, Romana's backstory, that she does have this kind of outsider look where she's like, okay, I got to find someone who could make me Queen of Canada. King of America.
How about the King of America?
Right?
Oh, that's so great. This is wonderful. I'm still curious, which we'll probably get in with the next episode, is like, okay, but where's the money at? Where's the bag at? Like, what are we, when does she get to the money? Like, what is the,
what's
what
the
is
grift?
the thing? Yeah, what's the grift?
Well, I mean, the grift is she's going to raise money to support her quest to save Canada. That's what it's going to be. You get followers and you take their money, right?
Okay.
Now, again, when I first read about her exploits tunnel fighting the Chinese army, I had the same question you're all asking. How did she do that? And unfortunately, she never gives us details. She just says that she was unable to eat or sleep or think while fighting off China's invasion. And when she finally achieved victory, she wept and was allowed to eat and sleep again. I think based on my general knowledge of these kinds of movements, that she thinks she's claiming this was a psychic battle. Mm-hmm. She wasn't fighting them in hand-to-hand combat. She was sitting in her house and became aware psychically that Chinese psychers were in tunnels underneath Canada, and she fought off China's psychic warriors.
So
using
the psychic
her own
warriors
psychic powers, right?
Physically came to our tunnels. Like, so
that's a little unclear to me, Prop. I think so, but I don't think she fought them physically.
That's what I'm saying. But why would they why am I asking about logic?
Why are you asking?
Why am I asking about logic
on this?
But that means that we learning here. We learning by omission. See, that means that like your psychic fighting abilities has a range. It's more like radio rather than satellite.
Right.
So you got to be a little closer to Canada. So that's the best way to fight your psychic war. You got to actually physically be on the Western Hemisphere under our ground.
Yeah, of course.
Or the radio signal don't work.
That's why, again, Arizona was just too far. The King of America's psychic powers couldn't reach into Canada.
You know what? That might be. He might have tried. It's just his signal wasn't strong enough.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the caves were made out of dolomite, which we all know blocks psychic resonance.
Absolutely.
You know? No way to know. So, the Queen claims that after she finished defeating the Chinese, her roommate, it sounds like she's saying her roommate walked it on her. She doesn't exactly say this, but I'm guessing she was astral projecting. And then afterwards, her roommate sees her and is like, hey, what happened? And she's like, I am the Queen and Commander-in-Chief of Canada. I defeated the Chinese communists. And if you tell anyone, I'm going to have to kill you. And that's not a joke, right?
Oh, man.
The Queen having a roommate is really funny.
It's very funny. It's
I'm
really
the Queen.
funny. Yeah.
I was just going Uber Eats, bro. Like, seeing if you wanted
something.
Want
anything?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm the Queen. Yeah. I'm gonna need your half of the utilities bill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's the thing. What's funny to me is this is part of her story to her followers about like how she came to power is like, and then I told my roommate and my roommate started calling me Your Majesty from then on.
Of course
and
she did.
She's like, he immediately recognized that I was the queen. I think this guy might have been both joking and also like, well, she just threatened to kill me. So I probably don't want to push her too far. This is clearly an unwell person that I live with.
All right, Your Majesty.
I'm just going to say Your Majesty and get on Craigslist to look for another room.
Absolutely.
Like,
okay,
100%.
Your Majesty. Well, it's your turn to do the bathroom. So I don't know if you got any of your royal subjects to come do this, but it's your turn.
Yeah, you still got to clean the bathroom.
Yeah. I was also interested in your acknowledgement of the tunnels being made of dolomite. And
well, I assume it blocks psychic powers, but maybe not her psychic powers, but maybe the King of America.
I'm just saying, my only reference to dolomite was a pimp from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He was also a pimp.
Okay.
Maybe the tunnels in Canada were made from a pimp from the 70s.
Okay, cool. Okay, I was like, wow. No, dolomite was a real thing. Okay.
Well, everybody.
You're killing me.
That's this episode of Behind the Bastards. Until next time, you know what you should do?
Listen to Hood Politics.
That's what
you could. Yeah, sure. Listen to Hood Politics.
You know
Listen to Hood Politics. And declare yourself the king or queen of whatever country you happen to be in. You know, all you have to do is defeat the Chinese military underground using your psychic
with
powers.
Your brain. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work really hard on that. Behind the Bastards is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Full video episodes of Behind the Bastards are now streaming on Netflix, dropping every Tuesday and Thursday. Hit Remind Me on Netflix so you don't miss an episode. For clips and our older episode catalog, continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@BehindTheBastards. We love about 40% of you, statistically speaking.
Kids, pets, life, your sofa sees it all. But with a washable sofa, stains don't stand a chance. All of our sofa collections come with fully machine washable covers and cushions, making cleanup effortless. Liquid and stain-resistant fabrics provide extra protection against everyday messes. Plus, with modular designs, you can rearrange your sofa however you like. Perfect for growing families and changing spaces. Starting at just $699, it's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Discover a spectacular island destination with crystal blue seas, endless sunshine, and the cool Bahamian breeze. Baha Mar, located in Nassau, Bahamas, offers your choice of 3 luxury hotels, over 45 fine dining and nightlife venues, Jean Baptiste's all-new jazz club, the Caribbean's most luxurious casino, and one-of-a-kind experiences for the entire family, like our 15-acre tropical water park, wildlife sanctuary, world-class golf course, and so much more. Visit bahamar.com today.
This is Jacob Goldstein from What's Your Problem? When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
Flag football is exploding, and iFlag is leading the way. As the Guinness World Record holder, iFlag hosts premier flag football tournaments nationwide for boys, girls, high school girls, and adults. From first-time players to elite competitors, iFlag delivers top-level competition, unforgettable experiences, and a community built around the game. Ready to be part of it? Join the movement. Find your tournament and learn more at iflag.org. That's iflag.org.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.